I stood on my own front porch with 2 suitcases, watching my daughter Brenda change the locks. 3 days after we buried my wife Catherine, my own child pointed at the gate and said those words I will never forget. "Find somewhere else to die. You are useless now." She held up the inheritance papers like a trophy. $35 million, and our family home all hers. I was 64 years old, married for 41 years, and suddenly homeless. What Brenda did not know would destroy her within 48 hours. The afternoon sun felt hot on my neck as I loaded those 2 suitcases into the back of my truck. My hands shook, not from fear but from something deeper. Disbelief maybe, or the kind of pain that does not have a name yet. I had changed Brenda's diapers. I had walked her to her first day of kindergarten. I had paid for her college education, her wedding, her car, when she wrecked the first one. And now I was being thrown out like trash. I drove down Maple Street past the neighborhood I had lived in for 37 years, and I did not look back. Could not look back. If I did, I might have broken down completely, and I needed to keep it together, at least for a few more hours. The motel on Route 42 was the kind of place you stay when you have nowhere else to go. $65 a night, paid in cash with a view of the parking lot and a vending machine that hummed all night. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing the same black suit from the funeral, and stared at the wall. Catherine was gone. Really gone. And the daughter we raised together had just kicked me to the curb. My phone rang around 6 that evening. It was Harold Brennan, our family attorney. Catherine and I had known him for 20 years. He handled the business contracts, the estate planning, everything. "Spencer, we need to talk. Can you meet me tonight?" His voice sounded strange, urgent but also careful, like he was holding something back. "I am at the motel on Route 42, the one near the old hardware store. I know it. I will be there in 30 minutes. There is a diner across the street. Meet me there." He hung up before I could ask questions. I changed out of the funeral suit and into jeans and a flannel shirt, caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and barely recognized the man staring back. I looked older than 64. I looked like someone who had lost everything in the span of a week. The diner was one of those old-fashioned places with red vinyl booths and a waitress who called everyone honey. Harold was already there, sitting in the back corner away from the windows. He had a cup of coffee in front of him, untouched. I slid into the booth across from him. "What is this about Harold?" He looked at me for a long moment, then reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Did Brenda show you the complete will, the entire document?" She showed me the inheritance summary page. Said the house and the money were hers. That is all I needed to know, apparently. Harold shook his head slowly. "Spencer, there is more. A lot more. Catherine included a condition clause in her will, a very specific one." My stomach tightened. "What kind of condition?" "The $35 million, and the house transfer to Brenda immediately upon Catherine's death. That part is true. But there is a secondary provision. If Brenda ever attempts to sell the house or any portion of the business assets within 5 years, or if she severs family ties with you by eviction or abandonment, then 80% of the liquid assets revert to a trust controlled by you." "A sole truste." I stared at him. The words made sense individually, but together they felt impossible. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that Catherine knew this might happen. She knew Brenda's character. She built in a failsafe. If Brenda kicked you out, which she just did, then $28 million transfers to your control. Brenda keeps only $7 million. The diner suddenly felt too small, too hot. Catherine never told me about this. She made me promise not to tell you unless it became necessary. She said you would try to talk her out of it, that you would want to trust Brenda." Harold reached into the folder again and pulled out a sealed envelope. "She left this for you, to be opened only if Brenda triggered the clause." My name was written on the front in Catherine's handwriting. Seeing it made my chest ache. I took the envelope but did not open it. Not there, not in front of Harold. "There is one more thing," Harold said. "The will states you cannot tell Brenda about the reversion clause directly. She must discover it through her own actions, or through the formal reading of the complete will. If you inform her before the official reading, the clause is voided. Everything stays with Brenda. So I just have to wait. Let her think she got away with it. The formal reading is scheduled for 3 days from now. I sent Brenda a notice this afternoon. She is required to attend. Harold finished his coffee. Catherine was very clear about this, Spencer. She wanted Brenda to face the consequences of her choices. Not to punish her, but to teach her. I drove back to the motel in a daze. The envelope sat on the passenger seat, like a living thing. When I got back to the room, I locked the door, sat on the bed and opened it. Catherine's handwriting filled 2 pages. I recognized the way she formed her letters, the slight slant to the right, the way she crossed her T's. My dearest Spencer, if you are reading this, then Brenda has done what I feared she would do. She has thrown you out. She has chosen money over family. And my heart breaks for both of you. I have known for the past 2 years that something was wrong with Brenda. The way she talked about the business, about our estate, about what would happen when I was gone. It was always about the money, never about you, never about preserving what we built together. Craig has poisoned her mind. He comes from wealth and he looks down on the life we built from nothing. He has made Brenda ashamed of where she came from. I could not let her destroy you, Spencer. You are the love of my life, my partner in everything. So I built this protection into the will, not to punish her, but to save her from herself. Money without character destroys people. I have seen it happen. I will not let it happen to our daughter. The clause will force her to confront what she has done. And when she does, I hope she finds her way back to you. But if she does not, at least you will be protected. You will have the resources to live your life with dignity. I am so sorry I had to keep this secret from you. I knew you would argue that you would want to believe the best in Brenda. That is one of the things I love most about you. Your faith in people, even when they do not deserve it. Take care of yourself, my love. And if Brenda ever finds her way back, forgive her. Not for her sake, but for yours. Bitterness is a heavy load to carry. All my love. Always, Catherine. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. Catherine had known. She had seen what I refused to see, and she had protected me even from beyond the grave. I did not sleep that night. I lay on the motel bed listening to the vending machine hum, thinking about 41 years of marriage and 1 daughter who had just made the biggest mistake of her life. The phone rang at 6 in the morning. I had finally drifted off around 4, so the sound jolted me awake like an alarm. I grabbed it without looking at the screen. Hello. What did Mom put in that will? Brenda's voice was sharp, panicked. I just got a call from some estate attorney saying I have to come to a formal reading tomorrow. I thought the inheritance summary was everything. What is going on? I sat up, rubbing my eyes. My mouth tasted like stale coffee and regret. I do not know all the details, Brenda. You are lying. Dad, what did she leave you? Did she give you money? Is that why they want me there? Harold's warning echoed in my mind. I cannot tell her directly. If I do, the clause is voided. Brenda, I have not seen the complete will. The attorney will explain everything at the reading. This is your fault. Her voice turned cold. You probably manipulated her when she was sick. You probably made her change things. I know what you are doing. I did not even know there was more to the will until yesterday. Whatever. Craig says we should have our own lawyer there. He says you are probably trying to steal my inheritance. She hung up without saying goodbye. I stared at the phone. Craig. Of course Craig was behind this. He had always been the problem. From the moment Brenda brought him home 5 years ago, I knew he was trouble. He came from old money, the kind of family that summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen. He looked at Catherine and me like we were the help. And slowly over those 5 years, he had turned Brenda into someone who looked at us the same way. My phone rang again. This time it was my younger brother Frank, calling from Ohio. Spencer, I just heard about Catherine. I am so sorry, man. Why did you not call me? It has been a rough week, Frank. I am driving out there. You should not be alone. No, do not do that. I am okay. I need to handle some estate business. It is complicated. Frank was quiet for a moment. Brenda. It is about Brenda, is it not? How did you know? Because she has always been selfish, Spencer. Catherine spoiled her rotten, and you let it happen. I love you, brother, but you were both blind when it came to that girl. She is grieving. People do things when they are grieving. People show you who they really are when they are grieving. Watch your back. After Frank hung up, I got dressed and drove to a diner on the other side of town. I needed to think, and I could not think in that motel room. The place was busy with the morning crowd, construction workers and nurses coming off the night shift. I ordered eggs and toast and coffee, and I tried to make sense of what was happening. Across town, Brenda and Craig were having their own crisis. I did not know it then, but I found out later from Dorothy, Catherine's sister, who heard it from Brenda herself. Brenda and Craig had spent the morning at our family home, the house that now legally belonged to Brenda. They were walking through the rooms making plans. Craig wanted to sell it immediately. $3.2 million, the real estate agent had said. He had already called her, already set up a meeting. They had also contacted a business broker. Catherine and I had built a pharmaceutical supply company over 40 years, started small distributing medical equipment to clinics and hospitals. By the time Catherine got sick, we had 23 employees and contracts with facilities across 3 states. The company was worth about $18 million as a going concern. Craig wanted to sell that too. The broker asked for documentation of full ownership transfer. Brenda sent over the inheritance summary. Then she went shopping. Spent $50,000 on a luxury car, a BMW Silver with leather seats and all the extras. She posted pictures of it online. Catherine had been dead for 4 days. The business broker called back that afternoon. I was sitting in a park watching people walk their dogs when my phone buzzed with a text from Dorothy. You need to hear this. Brenda just called me in hysterics. I called her back immediately. Spencer, thank God. Brenda just found out something is wrong with the business ownership. The broker said Catherine only owned 60%. The other 40% is in some kind of trust. Did you know about this? No, that was true. I had not known about the trust structure. Catherine had handled most of the business paperwork in the later years. Well, Brenda thinks you are behind it. She called the estate attorney and screamed at him for 20 minutes. He told her everything would be explained at the formal reading. Dorothy paused. Spencer, what is going on? Catherine was my sister. If she did something, she had a reason. I think she was protecting the business. And protecting me. From Brenda. From a lot of things. That evening, Brenda called me again. This time, she was crying. Not the angry crying from the morning, but the desperate kind. The scared kind. Dad, Craig, and I made some financial commitments. We bought things. He quit his job. We thought the money was all ours, free and clear. If there is a problem with the business or the inheritance, we are in trouble. Real trouble. Maybe you should not have spent money you did not have yet. Do not lecture me. Just tell me what Mom did. Please, come to the reading tomorrow. The attorney will explain everything. She hung up. I sat in the motel room and thought about Catherine's letter. Money without character destroys people. Brenda had the money, or thought she did. Now the character test was beginning. The attorney's office was on the 3rd floor of a building downtown, the kind of place with marble floors and oil paintings of dead judges on the walls. I arrived 15 minutes early and sat in the waiting area watching the door. Harold had told me who else would be there. Brenda and Craig Dorothy, and 2 business partners from the pharmaceutical company, Jerry and Patricia. Brenda and Craig arrived exactly on time. She wore a black dress, pearls, heels, trying to look respectable. Craig wore a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. They did not look at me, just walked past and sat on the opposite side of the waiting room. Dorothy came in a few minutes later. She was 72, Catherine's older sister, a retired school teacher who still volunteered at the library 3 days a week. She sat next to me and squeezed my hand. Catherine told me she was doing something, Dorothy whispered. She said Brenda needed to learn a hard lesson. She would not tell me what, but she said you would be okay. Jerry and Patricia arrived together. They had worked with Catherine and me for over 15 years, good people who actually cared about the business and the employees. They looked confused about why they were there. Harold came out of his office and invited us all into the conference room. Big table leather chairs, a pitcher of water in the center. He sat at the head of the table. I sat on one side with Dorothy. Brenda and Craig sat across from us. Jerry and Patricia sat at the far end, looking uncomfortable. Harold opened a folder and pulled out the will. Thank you all for coming. This is the formal reading of the last will and testament of Catherine Marie Thompson. I will read the relevant sections for each person present. He started with the basic information. Catherine's full name, date of birth, statement of sound mind. Then he got to the assets. The total estate is valued at approximately $58 million. This includes liquid assets of $35 million, the family home valued at $3.2 million, the pharmaceutical supply business valued at $18 million, and various other investments and properties totaling approximately $2.8 million. Brenda was leaning forward, listening intently. Craig had a notepad out, writing down numbers. Harold continued, "To my daughter Brenda Catherine Holloway, I leave the family home located at 427 Maple Street and liquid assets in the amount of $35 million to be transferred immediately upon my death." Brenda exhaled. She thought that was it. She actually smiled. However, Harold said, and that one word changed everything. "There are conditions attached to this bequest." The smile faded. "The family home and liquid assets are granted with the following stipulations. First, the pharmaceutical supply business ownership structure is as follows. Catherine owns 60%, which transfers to Brenda upon her death. The remaining 40% is held in a trust established in 1998 with Spencer Thompson, named as sole trustee and beneficiary upon Catherine's death. I sat very still. I had not known about the trust. Catherine had set it up without telling me. Furthermore, Spencer retains the right to reside in the family home for the duration of his natural life, regardless of ownership. He holds veto power over any sale or transfer of the property or the business for a period of 5 years. Craig's pen stopped moving. Brenda's face went pale. Additionally, Harold said, his voice steady and professional, there is a reversion clause. If Brenda Catherine Holloway at any time evicts Spencer Thompson from the family home, abandons him, or severs family ties through action or neglect, then 80% of the liquid assets shall immediately revert to the trust controlled by Spencer Thompson. In such a case, Brenda would retain access to only $7 million of the original $35 million. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Brenda stared at Harold like he had just spoken in a foreign language. Harold looked up from the document. He looked directly at Brenda. "Mrs. Holloway, did you within the past 72 hours evict your father from the family home at 427 Maple Street?" Brenda's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "No. He left on his own. He wanted to." Craig grabbed her arm. "Do not say anything else." Harold reached into his folder again and pulled out a piece of paper. "I have here a work order from Secure Lock Services dated 3 days ago. The order description reads, Eviction Lock Change Emergency Service. The address is 427 Maple Street. The signature at the bottom is yours, Mrs. Holloway." The locksmith. The locksmith had filed a report. Of course he had. It was part of his business record. Brenda stood up. "This is insane. You cannot do this. That is my money. My mother left it to me." "Your mother left it to you with conditions," Harold said calmly. "You violated those conditions. As of this moment, the reversion clause is triggered. You now have access to $7 million. The house reverts to your father's lifetime use. $28 million transfers to the trust controlled by Spencer Thompson." Craig exploded. "We are going to sue you. We are going to sue all of you. This is fraud. This is manipulation. Spencer probably coerced Catherine into writing this will." Harold looked at Craig with the kind of cold stare that lawyers perfect over decades. "Mr. Holloway, I have represented the Thompson family for 20 years. I have extensive documentation of Catherine's mental competency, her intentions, and her reasons for structuring the will this way. I also have video recordings of her explaining her decisions made in the presence of 2 other attorneys. If you choose to contest this, you will lose. And it will cost you a significant amount in legal fees. Brenda was crying now, full-on sobbing. Dad, you did this. You turned her against me. I finally spoke. I did not know about any of this until yesterday. Your mother did this on her own, because she knew what you would do. You are lying. Dorothy stood up. Brenda, stop it. Catherine was my sister. She talked to me before she died. She told me you had changed. She said Craig had poisoned your mind. She said she had to protect Spencer from you. Brenda looked at her aunt like she had been slapped. Then she grabbed her purse and ran out of the room. Craig followed, but not before turning back to glare at me. This is not over, he said. After they left, Jerry and Patricia sat there in shock. Harold explained to them how the business ownership would work going forward. I barely heard any of it. I was thinking about Brenda, about the look on her face, about how we had gotten here. Dorothy stayed after the others left. She sat across from me at the big conference table. Catherine told me something else, she said quietly. She said if Brenda ever came back to you, if she ever realized what she had done and tried to make it right, that you should forgive her. She said Brenda was still young enough to change. She said you were the only one who could save her. I do not know if I can do that, Dorothy. She threw me out of my own home 3 days after we buried Catherine. She told me to find somewhere else to die. I know. But Catherine believed in second chances, even for people who do not deserve them. I drove back to the motel. The same $65 a night room with the humming vending machine. I had $28 million now, supposedly. I could have bought a mansion, but all I wanted was my wife back and my daughter the way she used to be. Neither of those things was possible. The motel room felt smaller every day. I had been there for almost a week, living out of 2 suitcases, eating diner food, trying to figure out what to do next. Harold had explained the trust structure in detail. The money was mine to use, but it was set up to generate income rather than be spent all at once. Catherine had been smart about that. She did not want me to blow through it or make stupid decisions while grieving. The family home sat empty. I could have gone back, but I could not bring myself to do it. Too many memories. Catherine's reading chair by the window, her coffee mug still in the kitchen cabinet, the garden she had planted every spring for 30 years. Walking into that house without her would have broken me completely. I thought about calling Brenda, checking on her, but what would I say? Sorry, your mother made sure you could not destroy me. Sorry, you only got $7 million instead of $35 million. Sorry, you kicked me out and it backfired. The decision was made for me on the evening of the 3rd day after the will reading. Someone knocked on my motel room door at 10 o'clock at night. I looked through the peephole and saw Brenda standing there alone. No, Craig. I opened the door. She looked terrible. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup, wearing jeans, and an old sweatshirt I recognized from her college days. Her eyes were red and swollen. Can I come in? Her voice was small, nothing like the angry tone from the attorney's office. I stepped aside. She walked in and sat on the only chair in the room. I sat on the edge of the bed. Dad, I made a terrible mistake. She was crying again, but quietly. I was not thinking straight. Mom just died. I was overwhelmed. I was not myself. You seemed pretty sure of yourself when you changed the locks and told me to find somewhere else to die. She flinched. Craig was in my ear the whole time. He kept saying we needed to take control of the assets immediately. He said you would try to manipulate the situation. He said we had to be strong. So you listened to him, instead of remembering who raised you. I know it was wrong. But Dad, please, we can fix this. You can sign a waiver. You can give up the reversion clause. We can go back to the way things were supposed to be. She pulled a document out of her purse. Multiple pages stapled together. Craig had his attorney draw this up. It is just a simple waiver. You sign it and everything goes back to normal. I get the full $35 million, you get to stay in the house, we all move forward. She held it out to me. I took it, but something felt wrong. The letterhead at the top was not from Harold's firm. It was from a different attorney. someone I had never heard of. I started reading. The language was dense, full of legal terminology. But as I got through the first page, I realized what I was looking at. This was not just a waiver of the reversion clause. It was a complete transfer of all my rights. The trust, the business control, the lifetime residency in the house. Everything. If I signed this, I would have nothing. Brenda, did you read this? Craig explained it to me. It is just a formality. To make things official. This document transfers all of my rights to you permanently. I would not even have the right to live in the house anymore. I would have nothing. Her expression changed. Just for a second, I saw something in her eyes. She had known. She had known exactly what was in that document. I stood up and handed it back to her. Get out. Dad, please just sign it. We need this. Craig has commitments. We have expenses. We cannot live on just $7 million. Most people would be grateful for $7 million. You are asking me to give up everything your mother put in place to protect me. The answer is no. The tears stopped. The sweet, apologetic voice disappeared. You are going to regret this, she said coldly. Craig has connections. We are going to sue you. We are going to prove Mom was incompetent when she made that will. We are going to tie this up in court for years. You will spend all that money on lawyers and end up with nothing anyway. Then that is what happens. But I am not signing away what your mother gave me. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back. I was trying to do this the easy way. Now we do it the hard way. The door slammed behind her. I sat on the bed for a long time after she left, holding that document, thinking about how far gone she really was. This was not grief. This was not Craig's influence. This was who Brenda had become. And Catherine had seen it coming. The next morning, a courier delivered legal papers to the motel. Brenda and Craig were suing me. The complaint was thick, full of accusations. They claimed Catherine had been mentally incompetent. They claimed I had manipulated her. They claimed the will was invalid and should be thrown out. They were asking the court to nullify the entire document and distribute the estate according to state law, which would give everything to Brenda as the only child. I called Harold immediately. I was expecting this, he said. They are going to fight. Are you prepared for that, Spencer? This will be expensive. It will be ugly. They are going to say terrible things about you and Catherine. What choice do I have? None, really. But I need you to understand what you are in for. Depositions, interrogatories, possibly a trial. It could take a year or more. Do we have a strong case? We have an excellent case. Catherine documented everything. She knew this might happen, so she made sure we had evidence. Video recordings of her explaining her reasoning. Medical records showing she was mentally competent. Statements from her doctors. We even have emails between Brenda and Craig discussing how they planned to sell the business and the house immediately after Catherine died. Catherine saved those emails. She was building a case before she even passed. She knew. She really knew. Catherine was brilliant, Spencer, and she loved you. She was not going to let Brenda destroy you. Over the next 2 weeks, I hired attorneys. Good ones, expensive ones. We started preparing our defense. And then Harold called me with news. You need to hear this. We have been investigating Craig's finances as part of the discovery process. Spencer, your son-in-law is in serious trouble. What kind of trouble? He owes over $2 million to various creditors. High-stakes poker games, sports betting, some bad investments. He has been hiding it from Brenda. He was counting on the inheritance to pay off his debts. Now that you have most of the money his creditors are circling, does Brenda know? Not yet. But she will soon. One of the creditors contacted our office asking about the estate. He wants to file a claim against Brenda's $7 million. I felt sick. Who is this creditor? A man named Victor Marchetti. He runs private poker games. High-stakes stuff. Craig owes him $800,000. Victor Marchetti. I had heard that name before. He was connected, the kind of person you did not want to owe money to. Harold, I need to warn Brenda. Spencer, she is suing you. She is trying to destroy you in court. She is still my daughter, and she has no idea what Craig has done. If these creditors come after her, she will lose everything. I called Brenda that afternoon. She did not answer. I left a voicemail. Brenda, this is your father. You need to know something about Craig. He has debts, serious debts. People are going to come after your money. Call me back. She did not call back. Instead, I got a text message an hour later. Nice try, Dad. Trying to turn me against my husband will not work. Stop calling. I tried one more time calling from Harold's office phone, so she would not recognize the number. She answered, Brenda, listen to me. Craig owes over $2 million to creditors. They are going to file claims against your $7 million. You need to protect yourself. You are lying. You are trying to manipulate me. Craig told me you would do this. Talk to him. Ask him about Victor Marchetti. Ask him about the poker games. Craig does not gamble. You are making this up. She hung up. 2 days later, Harold called me with an update. Victor Marchetti's lawyers filed a lien against Brenda's assets. 4 other creditors followed. She is now facing 6 different lawsuits. And Craig is gone. What do you mean, gone? He disappeared. Left town. Brenda filed a missing person report, but his car is gone. His phone is disconnected, and he cleaned out their joint bank accounts before he left. Took $300,000 they had in savings. Oh God, it gets worse. Brenda's attorneys dropped her. She could not pay them. Her $7 million is frozen by the liens. She cannot access any of it until the lawsuits are resolved. She has no income, no husband, and no money. The next 3 weeks were a nightmare for Brenda. I knew this because Dorothy kept me informed. She stayed in contact with Brenda, trying to help where she could, and she told me everything. The creditor lawsuits moved fast. Much faster than our will contest case. Victor Marchetti had good lawyers, and they were aggressive. They filed motions to freeze Brenda's assets, and a judge granted them. The $7 million sat in an account that Brenda could not touch. The other creditors followed the same pattern. Craig had owed money everywhere. A casino in Atlantic City, a private lender in Manhattan, a business partner from a failed real estate deal. Even his own brother, who had loaned him $200,000 3 years ago and never been paid back. Brenda had no idea. She thought Craig was a successful financial consultant. She thought his family's old money meant he was responsible with finances. She had never looked at their accounts closely. She had trusted him completely. Now she was paying the price. She tried calling Craig. His phone went straight to voicemail. She tried calling his family. They told her they had not heard from him and did not want to be involved. She tried hiring a private investigator to find him, but she could not afford it. She had maybe $15,000 in her personal account, and that was disappearing fast. The luxury apartment she and Craig had rented cost $4,000 a month. She could not pay it. The landlord gave her 30 days' notice. She tried to sell the BMW she had bought with the inheritance money, but the car loan was in both her and Craig's names, and the creditors put a hold on that too. Her attorneys for the will contest case sent her a final bill. $68,000 in fees. She could not pay it, so they withdrew from the case. Without legal representation, her lawsuit against me fell apart. The court dismissed it. Dorothy called me on a Tuesday evening. Spencer, Brenda was evicted from her apartment today. She has nowhere to go. Where is she now? Sitting in her car in a parking lot. She called me crying. She asked if she could stay with me. What did you tell her? I told her yes, but only temporarily. I am 72 years old, Spencer. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I cannot take care of her long term. I know. She is broken, Spencer. Completely broken. The girl who kicked you out a month ago does not exist anymore. This is someone who has lost everything and finally realizes what she has done. That night I could not sleep. I kept thinking about Brenda sitting in her car crying with nowhere to go. I kept thinking about Catherine's letter. If Brenda ever finds her way back to you, forgive her. But was this finding her way back? Or was this just desperation? Did she regret what she had done? Or did she just regret that it had not worked out the way she wanted? 3 days later, Dorothy called again. "Brenda wants to see you. She asked if I would arrange it. She says she needs to talk to you." "Where?" "There is a park near my apartment. Oak Ridge Park. Can you meet her there tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock?" I drove to Oak Ridge Park the next day. It was a nice park with walking trails and a pond where people fed the ducks. I found a bench near the water and waited. Brenda showed up at 2:15. She walked slowly like every step hurt. She was wearing the same jeans and sweatshirt from the motel visit, and I realized she probably did not have many clothes anymore. Everything else was probably in storage or sold. She sat on the other end of the bench. We did not look at each other at first, just stared at the pond. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "Dorothy said you wanted to talk." "I need help, Dad. I have nothing. No money, no home, no husband. The creditors are taking everything. I cannot even access the $7 million because of the liens. My lawyers say it could take years to sort out. And even if I win, most of it will go to paying Craig's debts. I tried to warn you about Craig." "I know. I did not listen. I thought you were trying to manipulate me. I thought you were jealous of him." She wiped her eyes. "He played me, Dad. From the beginning, he played me. He married me for the money. He knew Mom was sick. He knew there would be an inheritance. He had it all planned out. Did you love him? I thought I did. But now, I do not even know if he was real. Everything he told me was a lie. His job, his finances, his family connections, it was all fake. And I believed it because I wanted to believe it. Because he made me feel special. Like I was better than where I came from." She turned to look at me then. "Dad, I am so sorry. For what I said, for what I did. You did not deserve that. Mom did not deserve that. I was cruel and selfish and stupid, and now I am paying for it." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think this was real remorse, real change, but I had been fooled before. "Brenda, are you sorry because you realize you were wrong, or are you sorry because you got caught?" She flinched. "I deserve that question. And honestly, I do not know if I can answer it in a way that will make you believe me. All I can tell you is that sitting in my car last week with nowhere to go and no one to call, I finally understood what I had done. I had thrown away the only person who ever loved me unconditionally. I had destroyed my family for money that was not even real. And I realized that Mom knew. She knew I would do this. And she tried to save me from myself." We sat in silence for a while. Ducks swam across the pond. A family walked by with a little girl feeding them bread. "What do you want from me?" I finally asked. "I do not know. Forgiveness, maybe. Or just a chance to try again, to be a better person than I was." She stood up. "I am staying with Aunt Dorothy for now. I got a job at a grocery store. Stocking shelves, minimum wage. It is not much, but it is something. I am going to pay off what I can of Craig's debts, even though I did not know about them. And then, maybe someday, I can be someone you are not ashamed of." She started to walk away, but I called after her. "Brenda." She turned back. "Your mother left you another letter. Harold has it. She told him to give it to you only if certain conditions were met. I think maybe you have met those conditions now." Her eyes filled with tears. "What conditions?" "That you took responsibility. That you tried to make things right." I stood up and walked over to her. "Do you want to know what your mother's last words to you were?" She nodded, crying too hard to speak. "Then come to Harold's office with me tomorrow. We will get the letter together." The next morning, Brenda and I drove to Harold's office in my truck. She sat in the passenger seat, nervous and quiet. I could tell she was scared of what the letter might say. Scared that Catherine had written something cruel or disappointed. Scared that she would have to face the truth of what she had done all over again. Harold was waiting for us. He shook my hand, then looked at Brenda. "Mrs. Holloway, your father tells me you are ready to receive your mother's letter." "Yes, sir." He went to his safe and pulled out a sealed envelope. It looked just like the one Catherine had left for me, same handwriting, same careful way she had sealed it. "Your mother gave me specific instructions about this letter," Harold said. "She told me to give it to you only if you demonstrated genuine remorse and took steps to reconcile with your father. She said I would know when the time was right. He handed the envelope to Brenda. I believe the time is right now. Brenda took it with shaking hands. Can I read it alone? Harold gestured to a small office down the hall. Take all the time you need. She disappeared into the office and closed the door. I sat with Harold in his conference room, drinking coffee, not talking much. Waiting. 20 minutes later, Brenda emerged. Her eyes were red and swollen, and she was clutching the letter like it was the most precious thing in the world. Dad, can we go somewhere and talk? Just the two of us. We drove to a quiet spot overlooking the river. There was a picnic area there, mostly empty on a weekday afternoon. We sat at a weathered table and Brenda laid the letter on the wood between us. Do you want to tell me what it said? I asked gently. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Mom said she knew I would make mistakes. She said she knew Craig would hurt me. She said she built the will the way she did, not to punish me, but to force me to see the truth. She said money without character destroys people, and she could not let that happen to me. That sounds like Catherine. She also said something else. Brenda looked at me, her voice breaking. She said, if I was reading the letter, it meant I had found my way back to you. And that was all she ever really wanted. Not for me to be rich or successful or married to someone from a good family. Just for me to remember that family is what matters, that you are what matters. I reached across the table and took her hand. Your mother loved you, Brenda. Even when you did not deserve it, even when you broke her heart, she loved you. I know, and I threw it away. I threw you both away. She looked down at the letter. Dad, there is something I never told you. Something that happened when I was 16. What? I stole money from the business. $5,000. I was using drugs back then just for a few months. Mom caught me. She made me go to rehab, and she paid the money back so you would never know. She never told you because she did not want you to be disappointed in me. I sat back, stunned. I had no idea. She told me she would keep my secret, but that I owed her. I had to stay clean, finish school, make something of myself. And I did, for a while. But I always resented her for knowing, for having that power over me. And when she got sick, when I knew she was dying, I think part of me was relieved. Relieved that the one person who really knew who I was would be gone. Brenda. And then when she died, I took it out on you. I convinced myself you were the problem, that you were weak, that you did not deserve the life Mom and I had built. But really I was just ashamed. Ashamed that Mom knew who I really was. And now she is gone, and I cannot tell her I am sorry. I cannot fix it. We sat there in the afternoon sun, two broken people trying to figure out how to move forward. Your mother knew you would find your way back, I said finally. That is why she left the letter. She believed in you even when you did not believe in yourself. My phone rang. It was Harold. Spencer, I need you to come back to the office. Something has come up with the business. What is it? The partners, Jerry and Patricia. They want to sell the company. They found a buyer willing to pay $23 million. But they need your approval as trustee of the 40% trust. I felt my stomach drop. I will be there in 20 minutes. Brenda looked at me confused. What is wrong? I explained as we drove back to Harold's office. Jerry and Patricia owned minority shares in the business, about 10% each. They wanted to retire, wanted to cash out. The buyer was a larger pharmaceutical distribution company that would absorb our operations, keep some of the staff, let go of others. If I approved the sale, Brenda's 60% would be worth approximately $13.8 million. Combined with her $7 million, if she could ever untangle the creditor mess, she would be financially secure. But Catherine's company, the business she had built over 40 years, would be gone, and most of the employees would lose their jobs. What are you going to do? Brenda asked as we pulled into the parking lot. I do not know. We went back into Harold's office. Jerry and Patricia were there looking uncomfortable. Jerry spoke first. Spencer, Patricia and I are getting older. We have been doing this for 30 years. We want to retire, travel, spend time with our grandkids. This buyer is offering a fair price. We think you should take it. What about the employees? I asked. The buyer says they will keep about half of them. The others will get severance packages. It is not ideal, but it is the best offer we are going to get. I looked at Brenda. She was staring at the table, not saying anything. Mrs. Holloway. Harold said, if your father approves this sale, your 60% share would be worth approximately $13.8 million. That would help significantly with your current financial situation. Brenda looked up at me. Do not sell it. Everyone in the room went silent. What Jerry said. Do not sell it, Brenda repeated. Mom built that company. She loved it. She loved the people who work there. I do not deserve to profit from destroying what she spent her whole life creating. Patricia leaned forward. Brenda, this is a lot of money. Money you need right now. I know. But my mother would not want this. And honestly, neither do I. Not anymore. She turned to me. Dad, I know you have control of the trust, but I am asking you as your daughter, please do not sell. Find another way. Keep the business going. Honor what Mom built. I looked at Jerry and Patricia. I need time to think about this. The buyer wants an answer by the end of the week, Jerry said. Then they will have an answer by the end of the week. That night, I sat in my motel room and thought about everything that had happened. Catherine had built the business from nothing. She had hired people who needed a chance. She had treated everyone with dignity and respect. She had made it more than just a company. She had made it a family. But I also thought about Brenda, about how she was trying to change, about how she was working minimum wage at a grocery store trying to rebuild her life, about how she could use the money from the sale. I called Frank, my brother in Ohio. Spencer, what is going on? I told him everything. The will, the lawsuit, Craig's disappearance, the creditors, Brenda's change of heart, the business sale. Frank listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, What do you want to do? I do not know. Part of me wants to help Brenda. She is my daughter. But selling the business feels wrong. Then do not sell it. Find a third option. What third option? The one Catherine would have found. She was always smarter than the rest of us. What would she do? I thought about that for a long time after we hung up. What would Catherine do? The answer came to me at 3 a.m. I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling when suddenly it all clicked into place. Catherine had not just protected me with the will. She had given me the tools to save Brenda. I just had to use them. The next morning I called Harold and asked him to set up a meeting with Brenda, Jerry, Patricia, and Dorothy. I told him I had a solution. We met in the conference room again. Everyone looked tired, worn out by weeks of legal battles and financial stress. I stood at the head of the table. I have thought about the business sale. I am not going to approve it. Jerry started to protest, but I held up my hand. However, I am not going to keep things the way they are either. I have a different proposal. I want to restructure the company, make the employees partners, give them a stake in what we have built. Jerry, Patricia, I will buy out your shares, using the money from Catherine's trust. You will get your retirement money. The employees will gradually become owners as they work. And, Brenda, I looked at my daughter. I want you to sign over your 60% to me. She stared at me. What? Sign over your share of the business. In exchange, I will use the $28 million from my trust to pay off Craig's creditors. I will clear your debts. You will start over free and clear, but you will not have the business. You will not have the safety net. You will have to earn your way back. Dad, I cannot let you do that. That is your money. Mom left it to you. Mom left it to me to protect you. This is how I protect you. Not by giving you money, but by giving you a chance to become the person she knew you could be. Brenda's eyes filled with tears. What would I do? You would work at the company, for a real salary, not an ownership stake. You would learn the business from the ground up the way you should have years ago. You would work with the employees, understand what your mother built. And maybe in 5 or 10 years you would earn back a stake in it. Not because you inherited it, but because you worked for it. The room was silent. Jerry and Patricia looked at each other, then nodded. I think that is a good plan, Patricia said. Catherine would have liked it. Brenda stood up and walked around the table to me. She hugged me, something she had not done in years. "Thank you, Dad. I will not let you down. I know you will not." Over the next month, we put the plan into action. I paid off Craig's creditors using the trust money. It took almost $3 million, but it was worth it to see Brenda free of that burden. She signed over her 60% of the business to me. Harold drew up new partnership agreements, and we brought the employees in as stakeholders. They were shocked, grateful, and more motivated than ever. Brenda moved into the family home with me. Not as an owner, but as my daughter. We cleaned out Catherine's things together, crying over photographs and old letters, remembering the good times before everything fell apart. She started working at the company, starting in the warehouse, just like she had as a teenager. This time, though, she did not resent it. She learned. She asked questions. She showed up early and stayed late. The employees who had known her for years watched in amazement as she transformed. Dorothy came by, often bringing food and stories about Catherine. She told us things we had not known, memories from when they were kids' dreams Catherine had shared before she got sick. 6 months after Catherine's death, I was sitting on the front porch of the house, the same porch where Brenda had told me to find somewhere else to die. She came out and sat next to me, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I heard from Craig's lawyer today," she said. "What did he want?" "Craig is in Nevada. He was arrested for fraud, something completely unrelated to us. He is going to prison for 5 years. She took a sip of coffee. "I do not feel anything about it. No anger, no sadness. Just nothing. That is probably healthy." "I have been thinking about something," she said. "About what Mom did. The will, the conditions, all of it. I used to think it was cruel, but now I realize it was the kindest thing she could have done. She knew I would destroy myself if she did not stop me. She knew I needed to hit rock bottom to find my way back up. She loved you, Brenda. Even when it was hard. I know. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that love." She looked out at the street, at the neighborhood where we had raised her. "Dad, do you think Mom would be proud of me now?" I put my arm around her shoulders. "I think she is watching us right now, and I think she is smiling." We sat there as the sun set, drinking coffee, not needing to say anything else. The money did not matter. The house did not matter. The business did not matter. What mattered was that we had found our way back to each other. And that was worth more than $35 million could ever be. Catherine had left me one final gift. Not money, not property, but a second chance with our daughter. And in the end, that was the inheritance that mattered most. I learned something through all of this. Grief makes people do terrible things. Fear and shame twist our choices. But love, real love, survives even the worst betrayals. It survives because it chooses to. Catherine chose to love Brenda, even when our daughter did not deserve it. And she taught me to do the same. Forgiveness is not about forgetting what someone did. It is not about pretending the hurt did not happen. Forgiveness is about choosing to believe that people can change, that mistakes do not have to be permanent, that love is stronger than bitterness. Catherine knew that money without character destroys people. She saw it happening to Brenda, and she built a safety net made not of cash but of consequences. She forced Brenda to face the truth of who she had become, and in doing so, she gave our daughter the only gift that mattered, the chance to become someone better. The will was not about punishment, it was about salvation, and it saved us both. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to forgive someone who hurt you deeply? Have you ever had to choose between bitterness and love? How did you find your way through it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who is struggling with forgiveness or family pain. We are all just trying to find our way back to each other. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brings you peace, and I hope it reminds you that love, real love, never gives up. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.